All right, welcome back everyone. We are ready to go with our second panel. The topic of these 2 days is new business model for manufacturing of the future. Behind new business model, there's an economics of innovation, there's new technologies. And this panel will play and discuss the intertwine between disrupting technologies, new business model, and the economics behind that. We're going to do this with 3 international speakers. Let me introduce Noriko Suzuki, who's research leader, automotive, electronics, and energy industry at the IBM Institute for Business Value. Welcome, Noriko Suzuki. Let's have a round of applause for our guest. Then we have Maria Chiara Franceschetti, who's chairwoman at GEFRAN. Welcome, Maria Chiara Franceschetti. And we have Dominic Gorecki, who is head of Swiss Smart Factory, president of the board of the Swiss Cobotic Competence Center at the Switzerland Innovation Park of Biel. Welcome, everyone. Please take a seat wherever you want. And I remind everyone that for your question, there's a very simple way to ask question, which is this number that you're going to see in a minute, which, again, you used that before, but maybe too late. So let's have it again, 335-7085-439. So let me start, Noriko Suzuki, with you, because we are all wondering where this new business model comes from and how do you see the impact of new technologies in the manufacturing space. You are a great expert of the automotive industry, so I imagine that you will talk us about that.
Yes, so because I'm very familiar with automotive industry, let's talk about impact on automotive industry from technology perspectives. So at IBM Institute for Business Value, we conduct a global survey every 5 years. And in a recent survey called Automotive 2030, we asked global executives, what are the most impact you are feeling in the next 10 years? And then 80% of executives said, they said technology advancement is going to be the biggest impact. And then by meaning impact, I think it's much more than that. And I believe it's more like a transformational transformation is happening in the industry. And then let me give you 2 examples of a big impact coming into the industry. So example 1 is automotive industry's EV shift. So, why this is so important for the industry? So automotive industry has been making internal combustion engine cars for more than 100 years, and that has been their competitive advantage. And then now it's moving to completely different products. And how many of you have electric vehicle already? Okay, maybe
just
3
a
or
few.
5. Okay, very few.
This is the market share, basically. In Italy, we're heading between 3 and 5%.
Yes, yes, yeah. That's this question I ask at all of my presentations, and then usually the number of people raising the hand reflects the reality of the market share. The market share of the EV in many other market is less than 5% right now. But according to our study, 50% of global consumers are planning to buy EV in the next 3 years, and that's pretty significant. And then according to our same study, global OEMs are planning to exit from gasoline and diesel engine cars by 2040. And then the industry is predicting 30% of global EV sales by 2030. So it is a big transformation. And then the auto industry's traditional competitive advantage is at the risk. They have very sophisticated technology controlling internal combustion, removing hazardous materials, and then those kind of competitive advantage is going to disappear with the new products, right? And then what will be their new core competencies with EV? Is it battery, or is it electronic components, or it's going to be software? So that's still to be determined.
Absolutely. Electrification of the automotive is a big example of the potential for a new business model and also servitization of manufacturing. That we're going to discuss this more tomorrow, but for sure, I'll let you reply on this later, because let me, Dominique Gorecki, get back to you to understand, first of all, what is the Swiss Smart Factory?
So the Swiss Smart Factory is an open test and demonstration platform and a network of about 80 partners, and they share one challenge, which is the challenge to innovate, also on the business model. Most of these companies are technology provider in the automation markets, so they run factories, but at the same time they also bring up new products. Mostly these products are very physical, and the question is, how does digitalization change their business? And they also, of course, feel the market pressure, they feel competition from overseas, and we help them to test and develop new business models based on new technologies.
Can you give us some examples
Sure.
of what you're doing in creating also new technology-led business model?
So look, when it comes to technology-driven business models, I would say there are two approaches. If we say it with the manufacturing language, then there's the greenfield, when we have a startup company that has a great idea, a cool technology, and a fantastic team which is motivated, and they have a business model in which they believe, but it's not yet proven. To give you an example, we have worked with a company. Their idea is to develop an intubation robot for the medical sector. It's a very innovative idea. So we helped them to develop the product and also test the market. At the end of the day, we found out the robot is working, but what the market is looking for is not the robot as a whole, not the hardware, but the software that we developed with the robot in the end opened new opportunities for them, and there was a company already established that says this is the software we want. So it's an AI-based navigation software for, so to say, the robot to find the way to the trachea. It's super innovative, and it's one example of a startup that tries to innovate, and we help them to test the product and test the market. But so for the startups, it's not easy. What they need the operation model, they need partners that help them to develop the product. But what I think is most important is not only to have cool and fancy technology, but you need to be at the right timing. That is so crucial. Just to give you an example, Microsoft came out with a Pocket PC, which resembles an iPhone already in the year 2000. And it was just too early, so the market was not ready. They had to put too much effort in convincing the market, developing the market. The technology was maybe also not so sophisticated yet. So it's not only about coming up with a new business model which comes with the technology, but it's also to have the market really ready. You also don't want to be too late, because if you are too late with a new technology, then your competitors are already out there, and the market is developed, the opportunity is gone. So for the startup companies, I see a huge potential, and I hope that we can help to transform these startups into hidden champions or also into unicorns if we are a bit more ambitious. On the other hand, the second approach, coming back to my initial statement, is the brownfield. These are established companies. As I said, they sell hardware, they sell machines, devices, and they see that their market is changing, that their profits are changing. I had just a company last week visiting us. They told us they feel that the after service becomes more important than just selling the product by now. So this is a new trend, and they ask us, how can we react? And we help them to change from a service that is from a business that goes to sell the product, goes towards a business of remote service. So how can we support? We have head-mounted display solutions, we have software solutions, we have remote desks where they can build knowledge centers, and they can connect all over the world with their product and have service technicians that have not much knowledge in the field to repair, improve, optimize. And this is really a new way for them to go. and it requires the right technology, it requires the right partnerships, and we really help them to figure it out together.
Yeah, we'll talk also the challenges in this transition later on. But Maria Grazia Franceschetti, I would like you to introduce briefly also Gefran. As Italian, we know very well it's one of the most successful companies in your side. You're a listed company, but just a few words for the international audience.
Okay, good afternoon to everybody. For me, it's a pleasure and it's an honor to be here, and thank you for inviting me. First of all, we can say Gefran, and usually we say Gefran, because the name of the company comes from our family. We are a family company. Gefran means Franceschetti, Gruppo Elettronico Franceschetti. So these topics are really interesting for me because of my job. I am an entrepreneur, a second generation of entrepreneur, in a company, Gefran, that has as core business to develop product and go to market with devices that are sensors and automation components for the control of industrial processes. We are well known because we have a good expertise, flexibility, and quality in processes for the production of our devices and system solution in a lot of specific application, industrial field. We have a consolidated know-how, for example, in the industry of plastic, metal, heat treatment, and mobile hydraulics. If I have to tell the value added of our products, I remember technologies, I remember innovation, and I have to say versatility, because all our devices help to boost the efficiency of our customer machines, also in terms of energy consumption. As you told before, we are listed in Milano Stock Exchange. We have a manufacturing plant both in Italy and abroad, because we produce in Shanghai just for local needs, as before someone was telling her is important. We are close to Boston, in São Paulo in Brazil, and in Switzerland we manufacture load cell. So we go to market also with our distributors, and we have 13 subsidiaries. What is important for us, I think that I have to tell also that we operate in a technological context in which innovation is leading and gives every kind of strategic decision, every kind of industrial choice. And thanks to innovation, we grow over time with a sustainable and consistent way. In the last years, we decided to accept the challenge coming from Industry 4.0, Industry of Things, and we decided to seize the opportunities arising from digital transformation. So these topics for us is something really fashionable.
Absolutely, and it's crucial. But Noriko Suzuki, let me get back to the automotive, which can be considered an open-air lab of transformation. We mentioned electrification, but it's not just that. It's also the connected automotive that will basically transforming the traditional cars in kind of computer on wheels, and software is more and more important in that. So this drives it's a kind of an example of technology-driven innovation, also of the business model. What can you add on that?
Yes, so cars are becoming more software-defined. When cars become electrified and connected, you will have more components controlled by software. And then car functions are becoming more and more software-defined rather than mechanically defined. Right? And then in addition, connected cars, they work together with a cloud data center and applications. And actually, in our study, 50% of auto industry execs believe they need to digitally reinvent their operations for the future. The 50%, is it big enough or is it too small? I don't know, it's kind of debatable because it's in the middle line. But the one thing for sure, automotive industry has to integrate a robust software development capabilities and the processes into the product development, and then manufacturing and after sales and services until the end of the product life cycle. And it sounds easy, but it's much more complicated, and it takes a lot of time and capabilities building. So I think it's a big challenge for the industry.
Very big challenge. Dominic, there's a question for you. And the question is this: how do you then find the right time to establish a real innovation? What capabilities are needed to scan the market and deploy the product at the right time?
Okay, so of course it's a challenge, and let's face it, most of the startup companies are not really successful. So they might fail, or maybe we sustain them with some funding for long term, but they will never really be a big success. But let's say 5% of the startups are really successful. And what we see, that's an important topic we're working on, we see there's a lot of initial support in the early phase of the seed funding of startups with their technology and business model. And even if they start to bring the product to the market, have first pilots successful, there is a gap which is currently, in our opinion, not well addressed. And that is when suddenly one of the pilots is so successful that the customer says, I want 1,000 of these things that you are selling, right? We have the case with a company.
Which is a fortunate circumstance.
It's a fortunate, but unfortunately, often the startups are not prepared for that. Because what does it require? It requires the supply chain in the background. It requires the manufacturing capabilities. And we see that specifically, and we have some startups. First of all, they go to China and buy there the products, do prototyping and so on. But this is not meant to scale. So if you really have to scale fast, they're not prepared. So I think we need partnerships of established and experienced manufacturing companies that have already supply chains up and ready. And they need to be there for the startups when this happens, when this moment happens. So we are currently building a matchmaking platform to bring established companies with these manufacturing capabilities together with startups to help them to scale up. I think this is extremely interesting and crucial, and it's a weak spot that we have not considered too much. So what it needs is also sometimes you have to wait, you have to be patient, to wait until the market is developed enough, because it's quite impossible to catch the right timing. So you need to have luck to catch the right timing, and until then you need to be patient, you need to have the investment ready, and you need to do your homework. So I think that's the goal here. Coming back, what is ultimately the goal of a business model? It's to create long-term sustainable revenue, right? And I think a business model is also only successful if your customers also benefit on the long term, and that's another point that is often neglected. I see it in the startup world. That there are great ideas, and the technology, we fall for the technology. It's fancy, it's convincing at the first place, but then we have to ask ourselves the question, is it really solving a pain point for another company that is willing to pay for it? Imagine now it's winter, right? Our immune system is a bit weak, so it's easy to catch a cold. Once you catch a cold, and someone comes to you and says, I have an orange to sell, or I have aspirin, painkiller. What would you take? You go for the painkiller in the moment, right? So you, as a startup, you have to sell a painkiller to the manufacturing companies, which means you help them to reduce the downtimes, you help them to become more profitable, to set up better remote services, and so on. So you really need to find this place that allows you to sell something other people are in demand of. The orange is good. A healthy lifestyle is good, and you can avoid on the long term the cold, right? But it's much more difficult to sell someone an orange when he has a cold than the painkiller. And I think this is something many startups don't get it right. And so that's another
Sounds
important.
easy, but then finding the painkiller for the market or clients is, the priority for everyone in the business. Talking innovation and the use of technology to update your business model in the last decades, can you tell us, Maria Chiara Franceschetti, a little bit more on the use of technology in production, but also in the products you sell to your clients?
Yeah, I love this topic because, as usual, we have our products and we have to innovate them, but also we have our production plan and we have to innovate our production plan. So we have a 2 point of view for this item, and I would like to share with you this point of view. First of all, how our internal production integrates innovation. We do it to optimize our production flows. And this is really important because we can use every kind of solution to product the design that we make inside. We optimize our production flows thanks to automated robots and digitalization processes. And why we do that? We invested, let me say, a lot of money for our company because we invested in the last 3 years 15 million euros in our capabilities. Why we did that? Because we want to implement our strategy and be competitive. And what we did with this money, we put in place robotic cells, process digitalization, and lean manufacturing. But what are the economics of innovation, finally? Why we did that? Why so a lot of money? Because if we want to be competitive, that is the key for everything, we want to protect our margin, and with automation we can have a optimize cost of the product. We want to be repeatable with the technical characteristics of our product. And if we are not reliable, and if our products are not every time in a perfect level of quality, we cannot stay on the market. And finally, with the automated workflow, we are speedy and we can optimize our answer to our customer, to a market that every time is changing. This is the internal innovation. Then we have the innovation that regards the product. And to talk about the product, we have to combine two kinds of innovation. The classic incremental innovation, let me say, in a market pull logic, we improve the technical characteristic of our devices. So if they are useful, they can be smaller. If they have a connection with the machinery, they can connect in a speedier way with the digitalization of the connection. But combining with this incrementally innovation, we need the disruptive one, the one that we call discontinuous or radical. Why? Because we have an added value to start a process of evolution which can lead Geoffran to develop new paradigms, and we can create new spaces of competitive advantage. How we do that? We do it with a function in the company called innovation, that it easy, but this function is strictly connected with university, research centers, and startup. They can, in an horizon of 3-5 years, identify technologies. That is the most important things. And so we can have a substantial impact both on product and on processes. We need the culture of innovation, but I don't know if we have time to talk about the culture of innovation.
But just in a minute, because it's fascinating the way you approach technology innovation and the impact on your business model. So the function is on duty responsible also for not just finding the right technology, but also the time to implement this and transform into, and we were discussing with Dominic, how important is testing new business model and finding the right time. And his bottom line was, you've got to be lucky if you want to get the right or not?
Yes, I mean, the perfect idea would be to have a digital twin of your business model. This is something we should maybe also spend a little time on thinking. How can we create a digital twin of a company, of a market, and then really simulate success of a business model before you really invest into it? I'm not totally aware of the efforts on that end, but I could imagine it would be one way to go.
It's fascinating. Digital twin of business models. This is one of the most popular ideas currently on how to approach this. Noriko Suzuki, let's talk also the other sectors, because we mentioned automotive. Yes, it's very, very active today, but you work closely also with the electronics and energy sectors. Which sectors do you think are the most exposed to a radical change in business model today?
Yes. I mean, with the transition to EVs, automotive industry and electronics industry, energy industry, those are kind of merging together as a kind of one big industry trend. And then I think EV trend is the kind of biggest impact to those three industries. And if we look at automotive industry, one of the big business model impact is that how you sell your cars is going to change as the nature of the product is going to change. So currently, 86% of EVs are owned, which means that they are purchased. But by 2030, 37% of EV will be subscription. And then 33% will be leasing, which means that the people don't own cars anymore. That's the industry is predicting. So the business model itself is going to be fundamentally changed. And then the automotive industry also is looking for other revenue streams. For example, like battery-related services or power grid integration, which brings energy industry into the picture too. And then subscription of personalized features like autonomous driving or emergency services or remote repairing kind of services. So I think those are kind of big business model impact that's happening in all three industries I'm overlooking.
Now, one of the points we already mentioned today is we've been discussing Industry 4.0 and smart manufacturing for more than a decade. Where do you think we are? Because, for example, one of the questions I'm taking is why does it still take so long to break with conventional manufacturing business model and supply chain and thinking to different models? Yes, Noriko, to you. So how about the impact that the discussion of Industry 4.0 have had, and how do you see the future? Where are we in terms of evolution of business models?
Oh, okay. So actually for the Industry 4.0, I am actually publishing a new paper. Actually, that's going to come out tomorrow. So you get a little preview of the study with me now. And then actually we've been discussing this Industry 4.0 for a while, but how much progress did we make so far, right? And then in the study, they said 82% of global manufacturing companies said they've migrated their operations to cloud, but only 52% see real benefits out of it. And then many advanced manufacturing initiatives, such as supply chain orchestration, quality root cause analysis, and materials optimization really requires a combination of technology and AI, IoT, and edge computing. And the cloud is the foundation layer of such technology, and then data applications. So I think that utilizing the full benefit of Industry 4.0, you have to really look into the foundation technology as well, which is like a cloud, which is not very fancy thing, but we are seeing that investment in the cloud technology can generate up to 13 times of ROI. So that's kind of a game changer for this domain.
Dominic Korecki, I asked Noriko Suzuki about the sector more exposed to change in business model, and apparently the business models are connecting different sectors together. How about the technologies, especially related to manufacturing, in terms of the main trends that you see in your experience with the companies you work with that are creating a new business model?
Yeah, maybe I really like the question from before, why manufacturing takes so long to adapt these new business models. And I think we have to be honest here, manufacturing is a very traditional sector with long investment cycles and low risk taking. So by nature, it takes longer to really change the business model. And technology, of course, is out there to stimulate and the thinking and the opportunities. And I want just to give credit to Dominic and the Manufacturing X approach, Dominic Ramos before. I think this is really a game changer, and it's driven by the industry. The first time manufacturing as a service platform, data share or data economies is really worth to observe how this goes on. But now, which technologies are driving the trend? I mean, first of all, data. Yeah, so we are able to have data. We can capture data. IoT is basically the underlying technology. So you can monitor your device in the field and understand how it's doing, when it's breaking down. You can update it with additional features from remote. So I think this is certainly one of the most important trends. AI. If we look at generative AI right now, I find it amazing. So this has been pushed into the pros markets. So everyone is now using these apps, and we were amazed. But suddenly we realize, oh, now we have to start to pay for it. We have to subscribe for better services, or you want to dig into the answers, or you want have details on a picture that you asked for. Then you have to pay with credits, or in some way they start to monetize these things, which at the beginning we thought we get them for free. But no, they're not giving us this for free. In the end, we pay with data or we pay with our money. And so AI, certainly, very, very big trend. Then from the perspective of what our society is in demand of, we heard it today also in the talk. It's the circular economy, it's the refurbishment, the repair. Just the European Parliament has, I think, pushed forward a new regulation so that products need to be repairable. And I think we need also to understand that our business, our economy cannot only be driven by purchasing, but we need to also be aware that things have to be refurbished, we put new value to the products, and we keep them for longer. And our industry needs also to prepare for this new paradigm of a circular economy, of long-term value. And another trend, if I look a little bit more ahead, I found it still interesting, although I cannot completely predict it, but it's the metaverse. When you see what Korea is investing, for example, in metaverse and what they have built in the last couple of months, it's so impressive. So you can basically go there, you can do virtual tourism, you can go to visit the authorities to do all your paperwork in a virtual world. And I believe also businesses will move into this virtual digital world. And I'm not sure if our society and our economy here in Europe is prepared for that at all. I don't see that. Well, so I think there's a lot of homework to do for us when we come home from this beautiful stay here in Italy. So a lot of technologies are out there, and we need to explore the possibilities better.
Absolutely. So the mayor of Seoul can look at his town from a digital twin perspective. This is not exactly what the mayor of Milan can do currently, but we shall see in the future. In any case, Maria Chiara Franceschetti, we heard from Dominic one very direct truth, because here at the World Manufacturing Forum, we're discussing and connecting experience of excellence in pioneering new technologies, new business model. But manufacturing, he says, remains a very conservative or traditional industry or sector. It takes an innovation culture. How do you approach the innovation culture at JFRA?
Before, just let me say that I agree with him when he was talking about manufacturing, because manufacturing is changing, has already changed. And as everybody's talking today, there are a lot of opportunities, technology and possibilities to us as entrepreneur, as company, to see, understand and grasp all these kind of solutions and solutions solicitations that we have. And if we do the same things in the same way, because every time it has always been done that way, probably in Italian we would say mettiamo la testa sotto la sabbia. In English I don't know how to say that. If we do that, probably
in Italian we say we put our head under the sand.
Wonderful, thank you. If you do that, probably the risk is that we, first of all, we not seize opportunities, and then we can be left behind from other people because someone else can take advantage anyway. We know that it's difficult to go beyond our comfort zone, but technologies give us a strong hand, so we have to exploit it. Culture of innovation, just 2 words, please, if I can, because we have the different way, that is the finish of my presentation, but I want to start with the end of the movie, because different way is our culture. It's the culture that in the company we decided to share as a common lexicon, a base in which everybody feels himself in a comfortable zone. Because if we want to innovate, we need skills, and skills need people, and people need, our opinion, to have a place in which they can feel as a security areas. They can make mistake. That is innovation. They have to think in an alternative way. So they have to be free and not to be linked in the immediate result they have to reach for us. And that is disruption. That is something new. That is the reason why we decided to have the different way, this common lexicon based on value, on behaviors, on habits, and a place in which people can use their abilities, their talent, their expertise in a freedom way.
Absolutely. Creating this kind of culture is the main challenge to me inside the manufacturing sector, but not just in this sector. Noriko Suzuki, what do you make of the main challenges to creation of new business model? What's the obstacle? It's human capital, it's culture, it's finance. What's your take?
Yeah, I think all of them are challenges, and then I think from because I work for IBM and then we are a software company, and from IT company's perspective, the biggest challenge that I am seeing in the automotive and maybe other manufacturing industry is really the product is becoming more and more software heavy. It's not just car, electronics, or even the industrial machinery or a tractor, they are becoming really software heavy. And then the challenge for the manufacturer is that how to master and how they can embed effectively the software component into their product. Because they have been refining their product development processes with, like, in the case of automotive, it's like 18 months to 24 months. And then, once the product is in the market, you have to just supply after parts. Right, and then it's going to be serviced at the dealership. But the software development cycle is much shorter, and then you have to do a continuous development, right? And then even after the car is in the market or the other product is in the market, you have to continuously update. So there's a big cultural change you have to master. So in a way, it's a skills problem, but in another way, it can be viewed as a cultural problem as well.
Absolutely. Now, Maria Chiara Franceschetti, there's a question from the room for you, which is, how do you see difference in terms of innovation that is taking place in Europe versus Asia, and you mentioned China, for example. Is there any difference in the approach to innovation in the markets you're working and producing in?
Yes, there is a different approach, and we have to face the fact that a multicultural team has a lot of new ideas, different language, so difficult to manage. For us, the most difficult thing is the language with the Asian people, because frequently they don't speak a good English. So basically, if we don't have a common language, how we can work together? Then, my opinion, our experience is that spesso even, no, often, quite often, sorry, they seems to be such as the follower in our company. We are the headquarters, we are Italian, we are European. Often this kind of guys seems to be aligned on what we say. So without a real spirit of creativity. And this is something that I don't appreciate. But I cannot tell that is a generally speaking situation for this culture. It's a question of culture.
Oh, absolutely. So, Dominic, final question for you from the room. Given the new business model in the coming years, how will the competencies change? How will the skills change? And how to create new skills for the manufacturing of the future?
So, yeah, I mean, in general, I think we need to prepare ourselves to continuous learning. And that means we need to be able to embrace and understand the new upcoming technologies and be really right on time to also see the business value behind it. As I mentioned, technology is not there for the sake of technology, but it should be there to solve problems of someone. Technology also has to be human-centric. So if you come up with new technology, we need to keep the human factor in our mind and design for humans. And I think in the end, we all want to be the next Netflix. I found it funny because I just read someone looked up in the internet the question, how did the VHS libraries work in the past? Because the old generation, they have no idea about how these videotape libraries worked, because this business model has completely distinguished. And I think we don't want to be the next Blockbuster, we want to be the next Netflix. And I think it's so important to keep innovating on the technology side, but keep the business in mind.
Absolutely. So these drive us also to the subject of the next panel that will discuss how to create a pipeline of new talent to drive more sustainable or net zero new business model. But for the time being, thanks again to our panelists, Noriko Suzuki from the IBM Institute for Business Value, and again, Dominic Gorecki, head of the Swiss Smart Factory, and Maria Chiara Franceschetti, chairwoman of JFRAN. Thank you so much. You can leave the stage because for anchoring the next panel, I'm delighted to have here one of our anchor women at Class CNBC, Irene Elisei. Please, Irene, welcome. All right, please have a round of applause also for Irene that will introduce the panel. Ciao, Irene.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome again to the last panel of the day, focused on the pipeline, the talent pipeline for a socially sustainable business models. The purpose here is to break down the topic into actionable insights, actionable ideas, and best practices. We will talk about talent, and so workforce, and then social responsibility and sustainability on the whole. Why sustainability? Because I don't know how many of you know that the meaning of the word sustainability comes from the Latin verb substineo substinere. It means to take care, to defend, to save value. And I think it could be useful to start with this meaning because we have a responsibility to drive change while taking care of our economy and our society. So I think every company has a social responsibility to express, and manufacturing companies can lay the foundation for a really sustainable growth in that moment. So let me say we can do it while being more competitive. It's the challenge. Now, let's dive deeper and let me introduce my guests. Monica Poggio, CEO Bayer Italy. Welcome. Greta Brown, PhD student, Chalmers University of Technology. Andrea Ceia, Policy Assistant to the Director, European Commission, DG Research and Innovation. Welcome. Monica Poggio, let's start together talking about human capital. It's the starting point because to recognize and to hire qualified talent has become the most valuable asset for any business. So, given widespread talent shortages and workforce skill gaps, it's imperative for us to address and to overcome these challenges. How can we do that?
How much time do we have?
2 minutes, more or less.
Just kidding.
No more.
Hi. Well, thanks for inviting me. This is a topic which is always make me very passionate about. So really, I mean, I will try to be short, but hopefully straightforward when we get to answer it. First of all, I would like to remind everybody that 2023 is the European Year of Skills. So there was a year that Europe has dedicated to skills and the importance of competencies. And this is, I would say, not only an Italian challenge. I mean, for those of you who are Italian, we know how much challenging it has been over the past years to find qualified workforce, but it's also a European common trait. Now, skills and competence and human capital are strategic leverages, and they've been one of the most challenging factors companies have been facing in the past years. I have also other assignment like president of the Italian-German Chamber of Commerce. We've been sending surveys to our companies' associates in the past years, and human capital has been identified as one of the key challenges almost at the same level as energy, supply chain, raw materials, and all these items, let's call it that way, we've been dealing with since pandemic. Going back to 2020, we've been dealing with pandemic. May I remember of what happened also in the Suez Channel, and then the war, the first war, not the Israeli war, but Ukraine and so forth. So human capital is a competitive factor, definitely. We're facing shortage of it, not only in terms of qualification, but also in terms of quantitative availability, and I'm sure we will talk about demographic in a while. And we should really tackle the issue establishing common practices and I would say collaborative networks around this.
So we certainly need to bridge the skill gap. So Greta Brown, how can we help people to enhance their skills? I mean, building strong relationships between academia and businesses could be part of the answer, and if so, how?
Thank you so much for the question, and thank you for inviting me to this honorable stage. I think it's a very complex question, and we need to enhance the collaboration, as you said, between academia, between policymakers, between employers, and between the employees themselves. It is very hard to understand how our changing work is impacting our jobs, the tasks we do, the skills we have to do. So we really need the companies to set the requirements. So they need to tell us what their business needs. And we as researchers from academic side, but also from researchers in general, need to coordinate all that to make the employees understand, because they are the ones that need to do the upskilling. They need to learn something to bridge their personal skill gap, but also as a collective skill gap. So it's a lot about collaborating and communicating and setting the frame and setting the requirements.
So, skills needed in a new era of Industry 5.0. Andrea Ceia. I'm talking about a collaborative industry, a new business model based on a close man-machine collaboration. In that dimension, I mean, what skills and competencies will be needed?
Thank you for the question. You mentioned Industry 5.0. Industry 5.0 is a concept that was developed in the DG Research and Innovation at the European Commission, and puts the industry at the center of the prosperity making of society. So it is not really a technological revolution, it's more giving focus to industry, and it's coming from the new growth model of the European Commission, which is the Green Deal. The Green Deal wants an industry that thrives while respecting planetary boundaries. So we had to overcome the paradigm of an industry that they use technologies to maximize profit or processes, and goes beyond that and redistribute this through a social, to its social capital, which is people. And so an economy, an industry that does that is also a more attractive industry for talents, because today young workers choose the companies they work with according to their values. Therefore, an industry that builds on its sustainability and resilience and human centricity approaches, it's an industry that will be more competitive in the end. So it's, but the question was about skills. What skills? Of course,
and competencies,
digital technologies are the basic thing that we will have. There are studies showing that, and even common sense will tell us that 90% of the future jobs will need digital skills. That's the basic thing. But it goes beyond that. The jobs that were most researched beyond data scientists were also sustainability managers, or wind turbine and wind technology experts. So there are many fields that need to be addressed in terms of skills, and we have to choose wisely how to do that, because we will have a shortage of people able to work and with those competencies in the future.
Thank you. Let me add an element I think we could discuss later. Not only digital competencies, technical competencies, but we need of qualified talent with non-cognitive skills of communicating, of collaborating. I think it could be useful to remember that. Monica Poggio, in addition to that, we have to talk about another element. I mean, the so-called demographic changement, demographic winter in Italy. We say that. There are few younger people to integrate, to include in the job market. So what is effective in your experience? What mistakes would be, should be avoided?
Yeah, the demographic challenges is really common for Europe. I mean, we all know that, you know, the Eurostat projection says Europe will reach 449 million inhabitants by 2025, but then it will start declining. So for instance, in 2070, it's estimated it will be 424 million, so losing 25 million inhabitants, while the world population is increasing, because we all know that the estimations are that in 2050 on the world, population will be around 10 billion. So it's an European topic, and again, it's also an Italian topic, because in Italy we have other challenges, but still, it's really a common topic. What we should do, what I would, you know, I would suggest we do, obviously, I'm not a policymaker, but I think there are a couple of factors. On one hand, we should really work on immigration, or, you know, including immigration, working a lot on diversity inclusion. This is part of sustainability, because sustainability is not just, you know, environmental or business. It's really social sustainability means we have to include. Let me underline, especially in Italy, we have to include more women into labor market, also to help the culture, and we all know what the debate is these days because of the unfortunate tragic events we have witnesses these days. So really cannot exclude any cohort of a population, no matter what element of diversity they bring, age, gender, or any other factor, because we simply, being very pragmatic, we cannot afford that. It's not only a matter of social sustainability, it's really a matter of demographic sustainability. So that's one of the key topics. We should really work against educational dispersion. Like if I look at the NEET data, the not in employment, education, or training data, in Europe the average is 11.1% in the age group of 25-29. In Italy it's definitely higher, but again we should really fight against dispersion into the education system. We should really help students in choosing and making the right choice when it comes to decide what kind of study they should take, so in terms of what they feel more inclined to, but also what the skills the labor market requires. And then I have a couple of elements. One is working around, as countries, you know, this is a public-private collaboration needed. As you know, we were saying, you know, it's not just one of the stakeholders can have a quick fix of this. So we have to work in system in countries at a European level. The OECD has developed a series indicator for talent attractiveness, for instance, based on quality of opportunities, pay and taxation, future prospects, opportunities for families, inclusiveness, quality of life, ecosystem of skills, healthcare system. So this is, what this landscape should be in countries, so that would help. And then as companies, we should really pay attention to our employer branding activities, to the welfare we offer, and really pay attention to what young generation are looking for. I firmly do not believe that young people are not interested in working. I think they're working in a different way. And frankly speaking, I think they're right sometimes. So they are looking for more impact, for more purpose, to have a meaningful job, and to work in a sustainability environment. And I don't think we can blame them for wanting this. So as a company, we have to really change our company culture so that we can include this new perspective on life. They bring different values, like our generation brought different values to the previous generation. This is the history of human beings. So we should really be very attentive and listening to them. It's another stakeholder. Like we listen to customer, we should be listening to potential employees so that we really understand what they're looking for.
And we will talk about it
later.
No. It's clear. We are talking about a demographic change because it's not just a possibility. It will be concrete consequences for our economy, our job market, and your business. So we have to speak about, again, on demographic change. Greta, how can we tackle these challenges? I mean, fewer young people in the job market. How can we fill all the positions, all the jobs, given this change?
Yeah, I want to pick up a little bit on what Monica said as well. So I think it's, as Monica said as well, my generation, we're a quite small one. We're not so many, and we're getting even more declining. Like my sister, who is 7 years younger, they're half as many than we are, 10 years older. What I wanted to say was that I think it's both, we need to tackle this by, of course, increasing initiatives to increase the pipeline into industry by making it a very attractive place. And I think all of us in this room are responsible how we speak about our workplace, and that it is a place that creates value for our society, that creates value for our earth, if we do it in the right way, creating a green industry, and telling young people who often are very passionate about these topics that if you come to industry here, you can actually have an impact. You can create factories that have zero emissions, and you can create decent work that makes society feel well. So I think that is one point, to attract new talent to industry. Even if we are not so many young people, we still need to work on that to get as many as possible. But I think one big challenge is as well to make people stay in industry. I think today we have a big problem that a lot of people quit industry. There are different reasons for that. Harvard Business Review has a quite famous study about this. 41% of women leave tech industry within 10 years, compared to 17% of men. So that is one issue that we need to tackle. You talked as well about that. How can we keep women and other underrepresented groups in industry? How can we create a culture that does not push people away, but rather want them to stay and thrive? And of course, make them or give them the opportunity to develop and learn new skills their lifelong, during the whole life, so that they can stay employable their whole life.
So for a strong pipeline, are you saying we have to have a continuous learning, a reskilling, a new culture of inclusion? Is that?
Yeah, I think that's a very good summary.
And how, Andrea Ceglia, returning to you, how can policymakers support this? I mean, we have a lot of new programs, for example, European Innovation Agenda and the Deep Tech Talent Initiative. Can you talk about it?
Sure. Actually, I saw that in the materials that you gave us, there is also a leaflet from the IT manufacturing where you can read about the Deep Tech Talent Initiative. This is one of the actions of the new European Innovation Agenda, and the goal is to upskill, retrain up to 1 million people in Europe by 2025. And already we have pledges for 700,000 people to be trained, so we are on a good track for that. But that's only one tiny action compared to what the Commission is doing. Monica already said that this is the year of the skills in Europe. It was now announced by Ursula von der Leyen last year. And indeed, if you look at the policies, industrial policies that were adopted this year, the Green Deal Industrial Plan, the Net Zero Industry Act, the Critical Raw Materials Act, they all have chapters on talents and skills. Because of course, this is a major issue. Without talents, industry will decline. There is nothing else. So, for example, in the Net Zero Industry Act, which is a proposal for legislation that focuses on 8 technology groups that want to reproduce, I mean, the aim is to really manufacture in Europe, so it's really about manufacturing industry. 40% of deployed technologies in solar, wind turbines, electrolyzer for hydrogen, well, there are 8 categories, carbon capture and storage and so on. They should be done in Europe by 2030. But of course, to do that, you need skills. Therefore, together with that, we also launched Net Zero Industry Academy, which have the aim of training 100 or reskilling 100,000 workers per technology group. So at the end, these are the other 800,000 workers. And this is done in a way that it's modular and flexible, because of course, someone said, I think Dominique before said it just in the previous panel, we need lifelong learning. I mean, all of us, in all industries, but in manufacturing industry in particular, we need to be able to provide flexible learning with micro-credentials, short-term stay or short-term learning that gives the missing skills to people that are already trained. For example, if you think an engineer that got his or her degree 15, 20 years ago, probably needs some retraining for certain digital skills or technologies that were not in the curricula back then. So this is the idea.
Creating a talent pipeline. To do that, Greta Brown, having the right skilled workforce is crucial, yeah, but also on creating workplaces where people want to remain, I think is very important to do that. So how do we create a workplace where people want to stay and to grow in competencies and something like that?
Yeah, also quite a challenging question, definitely, because we are, first of all, a very diverse workforce, as we have touched upon now. We have young people, old people, and we have different gender, we have different ethnical backgrounds, different functional variations. So we need to adapt as leaders. You need to adapt to everyone and see what is each individual's needs. Not only when it comes to learning new skills, but also when it comes to what kind of support do they need, or what kind of motivation does every individual need. And then it also is about the work forms that we work within. So what, as you said also in the beginning, what do young people like to do? I can only speak for myself and maybe my friends that I speak to. I think we're driven when we feel that we have responsibility, and we have the feeling of freedom as well, and we can design our own workday quite individually. I think that is a trend that we see in our generation, that we are quite individualistic. So it's a little bit the trend that we had in manufacturing or production since a long time with this mass customization. I think we need to apply it as well for the people working in industry, because I think what the customers want with this like individualized products, it's also applicable for the people working in industry. So I think, yeah, a diverse workplace where everyone within their own needs can thrive and grow. So one big part of that is as well that I said everyone needs to go on their individual learning pathway, understand how is my job changing, and get help by the Deep Tech Talent Initiative to understand what is my new learning goal and where can I find the learning.
So let me share my best takeaway in this moment. Creating a culture where everyone feels included is the key. It's a possibility, a concrete possibility. So we understand that the new generations have new needs. Monica Poggio, I'm with you. One of the most important things is, for example, for new generations, have a good work-life balance. Sometimes it's more important than a good salary. And is the job market ready to understand, to meet these needs?
That's one of the needs we should, definitely. I was thinking here we're talking manufacturing. And I fully understand that manufacturing and home working are not compatible. So this is clear to all of us. So we should really make sure we have the right storytelling for manufacturing. By the way, is a very appealing. I mean, I think it's fascinating, but we should really, as a companies, improve the storytelling about manufacturing. I obviously know the Italian context better than I do other countries' context, and still manufacturing is perceived as, this strange black box where you know when you get in and you know when you get out, and it might be dirty and it may not be the right place for women and so forth. So we have to change the storytelling, because reality is manufacturing is a great place to work. It's not dirty. It's absolutely going more and more digitized. So there is a lot of room for also more qualification and impact. So when we talk work-life balance, definitely I think we should all make sure our industrial processes are really meant to deliver on outcome, not only on output. And we do what is really needed to do, and we make sure people understand, employees and also young people understand how it works. So it's not a matter of changing everything in the timetable of a shift. That cannot be possible sometimes because there are industrial needs, but really explaining and change the storytelling and make sure employees are more and more involved in understanding why we do what we do and why it's needed. And I think that already would make a big change, moving from a control culture to a more inclusive, also in terms of ideas, culture, because we're talking inclusion and you think of women and sexual orientation or religions, but it's also about including ideas and making sure employees and young people especially feel they are useful. We're not like just on a chain, but we know what we're doing. So I think we can really work around this. And in Bayer, we have free home working, obviously not in the manufacturing side, because it's clear when you work on a line has certain needs. But we try to work around that. And we have a lot of women in the manufacturing side. We are pharma side, so typically, historically, where female population has a high percentage of women, also in the manufacturing side. So it's just a matter of really committing to make the place a better workplace. And I'm sure everybody here is committed to that. I'm not talking this room, obviously, but this is a matter of really making place attractive, which does not necessarily mean changing everything in the place, in the working place, but really understanding what can make the difference to employees.
We're talking about a sort of a competitive advantage. So you are a very concrete woman. I want to follow your suggestion. Can these concepts be applied in various size companies? Our economy is fueled by small and businesses.
I think that, bigger, size is not always an element to identify a company, but talking size, multinational companies, generally speaking, have been facing this maybe earlier, and they're getting equipped in a different way, also working on employer branding and all the inclusion and diversity and so forth, and the rest of the elements we have just mentioned. I think when the value added and the innovation required is high, the company, no matter the size, is ready to move along this kind of change. Maybe more traditional businesses or companies were not already well equipped for direct innovating to that extreme. Maybe some support and help may be provided so that they can really learn from our best practice and improve.
Celia, returning to you, last September, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen asked Mario Draghi to compile a report in EU competitiveness. What should we expect?
Okay, that's a question for Mario Draghi. But thinking of manufacturing, what can we expect there? Of course, Mario Draghi will have to the ambition of the report is to really set the agenda, or at least feed the thinking of the agenda of next college, so the next commission. As of November next year, we will have a new commission, maybe a follow-up of von der Leyen or bring something new. And this report will definitely have an impact on the new economic policy of the Commission and industrial policy as well. What I expect, just educated guess, is that circularity will be at the center of the competitiveness model. We need still industries to thrive, but we need also to compartmentalize them into the planetary boundaries. And we also need a social avenue a bit stronger than what we had so far in the Green Deal. Some people, in fact, there was a big event last week in Brussels by the Business Network for Corporate Sustainability and Responsibility, CSR Europe. And they are calling for a social Green Deal. I don't know if Draghi will pick it up, but it could also be one of the lines they will take.
Thank you. In the same occasion, during the State of the Union address, Ursula von der Leyen asked also industry to lead the clean transition. So, Greta Brown, what are the skills needed to move sustainable business models forward?
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of skills that are needed. Definitely technological skills. To create the solutions that we need to solve all the challenges we have, to decrease emissions, to when it comes to energy, when it comes to processes, when it comes to using artificial intelligence, blockchain, etc. So all these technological deep tech skills we need, but also a lot of transferable soft skills that are related to that. There's a paper by Marta Pinzone and Marco Teisch about this when it comes to skills that you need for circular economy, and it is a lot about creativity as well, and problem-solving skills, and analytical thinking, and also one thing not to forget is to be able to actually take charge of an idea, not only if you work in a startup, but also in a bigger company, and really take responsibility and drive your idea forward. So this like entrepreneurial skills. That is, I think, very important, that you're able to, communicate your ideas and also brand your solutions in a certain way, and brand also yourself to get credibility and get listened to. So I think, both technical skills and these more soft skills are very well needed to create a green industry and to create also, as you said, the social, sustainable green industry.
Thank you, Greta. Monica, I let you conclude. Remembering another president, the Italian president, Sergio Mattarella, he said last June, we don't have to protect our talent, but we must encourage the circulation of talent. What does it mean, Monica, and what should managers in concrete and business industry do? Is that the key to, in order to create the socially sustainable business models we are talking about?
I mean, that was a great quote of our president. I think this idea of talent circulation was really, hitting the point. We have to move from brain drain to brain gain. And moving to brain gain doesn't mean we go for protectionism of talent. We're already talking how protectionism can damage trade and business development. So why should we protect talent? So the point is not, especially talking Italian talents, we know a lot of them move abroad and move abroad to work. That's great. I mean, if people gain an experience in a different countries, I think that's great. Point is that it would be nice if the country would be that attractive to get them back, or at least to have them back, but also being attractive to foreign students. And for instance, I know data from universities in the Milan area. They are increasingly more attractive to foreign students. Point is, they don't stay to work. Once they graduate, they go back to their countries or they move to other countries. They don't stay in Italy. I think somebody in the previous panel was mentioning the language topic. It's a language topic for sure. It's bureaucracy, but it's also, we were mentioning before, the talent attractiveness indicators from the OECD. So it's also a matter of mindset, of being inclusive of different cultures. So we should really work around that. I know Europe has developed the EU Blue Card, which is also already an encouraging sign in terms of having people from non-European people moving into Europe and have a free circulation of talent, at least at European level. I think we should be working more in that, in networks, collaborative networks, not only in our backyard, if you allow me to say so, but also at more international level. Last sentence, we all live in a complex world. The answer is not simplification. The answer is collaborating to go for a win-win cooperation so that we can find solution together.
I really thank you for sharing your actionable ideas with the audience and with me. That's more to come tomorrow morning for the second day. Thank you, Monica Poggio, Greta Brown, Andrea Ceglia. Thank you for your attention. Have a wonderful evening. Grazie. Thank you.